following is a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the NFL Network. I've been kind of stretching these intros out over the last couple of weeks, but cooled down a little bit this week because, let's be honest, the rest of the NFL right now is getting pretty effing crazy. I'm not going to lie. Week 5 was certainly something. I will tell you that much. But yeah, I think you all saw it. We saw a lot of surprising wins and shocking losses from teams that we kind of expected a lot from, and some of them we weren't expecting much for you, but Jesus Christ. Like this week made a lot of fan bases feel like Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle. I expect nothing, and I'm still let down, because there were a lot of teams that were very much like that this week. So much so that we have a new change in the power rankings this week where, to paraphrase Dwayne Johnson, the bureaucracy of the NFL has changed completely, with only 2 teams from the top 5 last week still hanging in there, and one of them, we have a new number 1 team this week in the NFL, and we'll get to that in just a second here. But let's go ahead and show off the entire 32-team NFL power ranking for this week. And as I said, it is definitely a lot different than it looked last week. 3 of the 5 teams in the top 5 last week have been lowered down to within 6 to 10, and where is 6 to 10? Hold on one second. Maybe they're not as spread as I thought they were. 2 of them were in the 6 and 10 spots, and then one of them is all the way down at the end of number 20. And as you can see, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are out of the top 5. Kind of shockingly out of the top 5, all things considered, but that is how we got to the situation in Week 5. Let's just go ahead and run down the top 5 and see what new teams have taken the mantle. We have one team returning to the top 5, their second time this year. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who really starred in the big game of the weekend because, they went to Seattle, taking on a pretty good Seattle Seahawks team coming in. Got that big win on Thursday night against Arizona the week before. And now you're going up against Tampa Bay, which is a team that lost a close one against Philadelphia. But they came into Seattle guns blazing, and they really gave it to the Seattle Seahawks overall. And that's why I gave them the 5 spot here, because Baker Mayfield continues to do what Baker Mayfield has been doing so well with Tampa Bay ever since he got there. And this team right now is definitely very much up there with the Philadelphia Eagles and a lot of the best teams in the NFC right now, as one of the best teams in the NFC. I mean, they had one of the more exciting games this past week. They fought it down to the very last second, and they took down a Seattle Seahawks team that is good. I don't think is ready to compete for playoffs just yet, but we'll see what happens as the season goes along here. Welcome to the top 5 for the first time, number 4, the Denver Broncos. And let me tell you, when you go into the home of the world champions and knock down the Philadelphia Eagles the way you did in the fourth quarter, that more than puts you up in the echelon in the top 5 in general. Because, yeah, I kind of predicted this was going to happen. I mean, last week in my predictions, I said there's a good possibility that Denver could go in there and beat Philadelphia because, let's be honest, the Philadelphia Eagles have been slumming it the last couple of weeks. I mean, granted, yeah, they've been getting wins, but the thing that kind of pushed me over to saying that Denver was going to win it was when Tampa Bay, remember, they didn't have a scoring drive in that second half. They didn't really do much in the second half of that game, and they still won that game because mostly of a Baker Mayfield interception in the red zone. And yeah, sooner or later, that's going to come into play here in a game where you think you're going to cakewalk your way to another victory, and then another team is going to come in and say, "Okay, you're pumping on the brakes. Then we're going to power through." And that's what Denver did in the fourth quarter. They didn't lie down and die. They came back and rallied in the fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns And that 2-point conversion play, which I thought they were crazy. They're not going to really go with this, are they? And sure enough, there they are. They got the 2-point conversion, and they made it an 18-17 lead. And then eventually the final score was 21-17. Also got to love how the Philadelphia Eagles fans were so pissed off about the fact that, hey, where's the pass interference? It's just like, oh, now you want them to start calling penalties. You know, the Rams might have a thing to say about that a couple weeks ago when they were going to do it was with the tush push that should have been called, a tush push false start that should have been called, but of course that didn't happen. But give it to the Denver Broncos, man. I mean, this was their first real game of the season where they looked like the Super Bowl contenders we thought they were going to be. And if they can continue with this pace going forward, they could be a team to mess with here, especially with the AFC West looking like what it is right now. So let's go ahead and move on to number 3. And if I may paraphrase Monty Python, and now under protest, number 3, because yes, I put the Indianapolis Colts in at number 3, mostly because a lot of the wins this week were not really that impressive to me. But the Indianapolis Colts, I put them in there because last week people got on me because I was just like, why are the Colts at 20? Why are they up in there? Like, let me just, because people that don't understand, a lot of people don't understand the thing with the Indianapolis Colts right now. Yes, they're 4-1. Yes, they're currently the number 1 seed, which we know that's not going to last. But just think back to those wins that they've had. What were their big wins that they had this season? They beat a Miami Dolphins team, which pretty much we know right now is not that good at all. They beat a Denver Broncos team, which was probably the most convincing win overall because it came down to the wire in that one. They beat a bad Tennessee Titans team, and they beat a bad Las Vegas Raiders team. Their schedule has been so easy. Their one game that they lost was against a really good team in the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not ready to believe that this team is going to go and is going to be a Super Bowl contender by the end of the year. They might make the playoffs with the strong start they've had, plus they've had a cakewalk schedule, and it's not going to get any harder for them going forward. I mean, they got Arizona this week, and then they go to LA to take on the Chargers, which, considering that the Chargers keep losing players one by one, yeah, that should be an easy game for them. They'll face the Tennessee Titans again in their home stadium. Their real tough tests will come before the bye week because they got the Steelers at Acrisure Stadium, and we don't know how good they're going to be. And then the Atlanta Falcons, they're a team that could still be very much in the consideration there. Then they get the bye, and then the schedule gets tough from there because you got to go to Kansas City. Then you go to the Texans, who have gotten better in the last couple of weeks. The Jacksonville Jaguars twice after what they've done, after what they did yesterday against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a team to watch out for. And you haven't won in Jacksonville in over 10 years. Then you got to go to Seattle. Then you host the 49ers, and then you host the Texans in the finale. They could make the playoffs, but I'm not buying them as a Super Bowl contender just yet. They've got to prove that they can win games against really good football teams. They've already failed once with the Rams. Let's see what they can do with teams that are actually good. Not just the teams that are just like the Dolphins or the Raiders or the Cardinals. I mean, the Chargers, I think, will be their first true test because, the Chargers started off 3-0. They were looking pretty strong overall. Now, of course, the last couple of weeks, they've had so many injuries that have really hurt them in the long run, but they still have a capable team that could possibly make some noise there. So, if anything, that will be their first true test. The real test will come in weeks 9 and 10 when they take on the Steelers and the Falcons. That's when we'll know for certain at the bye week if this Colts team is for real. If they're somehow still like 7-3, 7-3 at the most, as at the least, then maybe I'll buy into the idea more. But then show us what you can do against Kansas City, and then we'll talk after that. It's the week of Thanksgiving, so Colts fans, I know you've been getting on me for not putting them in the top 5, but here you go. You get an honorary, in quotation marks, spot at number 3 because I didn't see any other big convincing wins besides the other ones we're about to talk about here, starting with number 2, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I mean, come on, when you have the AFC champs in your home and you put a performance like that where you don't back down, you don't let Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes just run all over you, and you play your damnedest and you play the best you can, and even with the ugly things that happened in the game, yeah, I put you at the number 2 spot. This Jacksonville Jaguars team is definitely a lot better team than has been in a long, long time. I mean, this is the best Jacksonville Jaguars team I've seen probably probably since all the way back in the 1990s. That's how good they are right now. I mean, I don't like the 2017 Jaguars because they won that division, but it was a lackluster division, and we saw what happened afterwards. That they got way too smug. They thought that they were the hot shit, and in the following season they came cratering back down to earth, and they were back to being the typical Jacksonville Jaguars again. At least with the 2022 Jaguars, there was a sense that, okay, Trevor Lawrence is building something here. So is Doug Peterson, and I think having Liam Cohen as the head coach really has elevated his team back to a place where they haven't been before. It's been a long time since they've been this high up with the record they've had at 4-1. And this is a Jacksonville Jaguars team that you can really get behind. You see a much better team than you've seen in the last couple of years. Liam Cohen really has been that magic man that's brought this team back on track here. And let's see if that continues into the season. I think they still have the best chance of winning the AFC South. If they can continue on that pace, if they can follow up this win against Kansas City and continue that into the rest of the season, I think they will definitely be very high up there in contention for the best record in the division, and maybe a conference title too. I mean, who knows? This could be that Jacksonville Jaguars Super Bowl team that they've been waiting for so many years. And so with that said, the number one team of the week, back where they once belonged, the Detroit Lions, are back up at the number one spot this weekend. And that really, it's not much of a surprise considering that the Lions have essentially forgotten that Week 1 loss to Green Bay and have returned to being the team that we expect them to be. I mean, it feels like it is. I mean, yeah, there's new coaches on the offensive and defensive front, but this is still the same high-scoring Lions team that we've seen the last couple of seasons. And if they can continue this pace up, I mean, they've got a real big test coming up this week, but they have shown that they have been able to stick with it no matter what happens. And I feel like that will, if they can continue that into the season, they're going to be a shoo-in to win the NFC North once again. But again, we'll see what happens as the season goes on. But like I said, a very, very all over the place power rankings this week because of all the craziness that happened this past week. So what better way to follow it up by taking a look at my Week 6 predictions, aka the predictions that I'm sure are going to be wrong because of how crazy the last couple of weeks have been, but we're going to do it anyway, so screw it. Now, to be fair, I didn't do as bad as I thought I did. I got 8 out of 14 because, of course, we had bye weeks this week for the Steelers, the Packers, the Falcons, and also the Chicago Bears, who are all back at it this week. Only the Texans and the Vikings have a bye week this week, so there'll be 15 games to look at today. So yeah, 8 out of 14, 57.1%. That's actually my second best record of the year so far because I had 9 of 16 weeks 2 and 3 and then 8 of 16 for week number 1. So can't really complain about that in general. But let's go ahead and get to the games this week. There are some very interesting games indeed. Starting off with our first one here, Thursday Night Football. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the New York Football Giants. The Giants came off of that shocking loss to the New Orleans Saints, and I mean shocking because holy shit, the Saints actually are good again. I mean, okay, to be honest, the Saints have actually not been that bad of a football team this season. They've had times where they've almost knocked down some pretty big powerhouses. I mean, they almost took down the Buffalo Bills last week. People forget that. I mean, that was a close game, that more close than anyone thought was possible. And so the Giants come in here. They think they've got this powerful upgrade going forward with Jackson Dart in general, who started off strong overall. But then after they scored that second touchdown, it's like the Giants just disappeared and came back down to earth to being the New York Football Giants that we know them to be. And they got a huge disappointing loss against the New Orleans Saints, who got their first win of the season. We'll talk about them in a little bit here. But they're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And speaking of getting your first loss of the season, Philadelphia, I mean, it's like I said last week, we kind of expected this to happen at some point, considering what was going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, not just behind the scenes, but on the field as well. Like I said, they didn't score, and they didn't really do much in the second half against Tampa Bay. And when you're not doing so much there, and you think that you could just do enough in the first half of a game, and then do nothing else at all, somebody's going to take you up on that, and that's what the Denver Broncos did. And it doesn't help that you're not getting the ball to your star players. You got it to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith this week, but you've let Saquon Barkley left in the dust. I mean, Saquon Barkley didn't get one single play in the second half. It didn't get many yards in the second half. In fact, I don't think he got any at all, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles are clearly in some trouble right now, and a good team will look at this and go like, ooh, ripe for the taking here. And somehow I don't think the New York Giants are going to be that team overall. I think that's a team that is going to be better than they have been the last couple of weeks. Maybe they'll win a couple of other games, but nobody really should expect the New York Giants to be in playoff contention anytime soon. But the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, despite all the problems going on behind the scenes and all, they should win this game against the New York Giants. Even if Saquon Barkley reportedly is not going to be able to play, there's some rumblings that he has like a knee injury and that could push him out of this game in general, which would suck for him because it's a revenge game against his former team. But even then, I think the Philadelphia Eagles can still come out and win this game overall. There's nothing that would make me... The only thing that would make me convinced that this team will not win is that they keep doing the same thing they've been doing the last couple of weeks, scoring early on in the first half, doing nothing after that, and letting the other team coming back into it. Like, that's not going to keep working if you keep up with this pace here. I mean, keep in mind, this is a new offensive coordinator coming in for the Philadelphia Eagles, and so far, he's not been delivering the job, despite the fact that they started off 4-0. So, just because I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are just a better team overall, I am going to go with them to win this one. I'm going to go with the Eagles to go to 5-1 and the Giants to drop to 1-5. I just don't see how the New York Giants can win this game unless Philadelphia has been doing the same thing it's been doing the last 2 weeks, which, considering it's a divisional rival, I really don't think that's going to be the case. Speaking of New York football teams that are in desperate trouble, let's talk about the New York Jets. Thank God that they are away in London, England this week. It's the third game of the NFL International Series as we've got the Denver Broncos taking on the New York Jets, with the Jets as the designated home team. The Jets. Oh my God. Jets have been terrible. No, I've always been terrible, but man, this is advanced terrible. I mean, good Lord. Why did I think that they were going to beat the Dallas Cowboys last week? I mean, I thought maybe that 2019 magic they had when they faced the Cowboys, or even that 2023 magic when they beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who were just in the Super Bowl, I thought for some reason that magic was going to come back to them in this game, and it just wasn't there, man. I mean, Dallas mopped the floor with them. It wasn't even close, and, like, this Jets team looks absolutely terrible. I mean, you could tell this team is bad because when bad plays are happening, the head coach is smiling on the field. Like, he doesn't care about his players at this point. He's just at least looking at this and going like, oh my God, this team is terrible, but holy shit, we've got the opportunity to get the number 1 draft pick. Like, that's what I really think his intentions are here. It's been 5 games. They've had no turnovers in 5 games. That's over a month without a turnover. Like, they have surpassed the Saints and the Titans as the worst team in football right now, quite literally, because they are the only winless team left in the league right now. And you're going to be taking on a Denver Broncos team that's coming off that red-hot win against Philadelphia, in Philadelphia nonetheless. So you take that overseas. I mean, you're feeling pretty good about yourself here. I mean, on paper, this should be an easy win for the Denver Broncos, you would think. But, just hear me out. What I'm about to say is going to be completely crazy, but that's the thing with these NFL international games. You think that the team with the better record will usually come on in and just mop the floor with the team that's in desperate trouble. We've seen it before with the Miami Dolphins in 2021. We thought that they were going to win against an Urban Meyer-led Jacksonville Jaguars team that was having behind-the-scenes troubles and just was never getting any wins. And then guess what happens? They win a game in London, England. This happened 3 years ago with the Denver Broncos when Russell Wilson was at the forefront of that team. You know, that team was terrible in 2022, but they still found a way to win that game over Atlanta. Or Jacksonville, excuse me. It was Jacksonville that won that game. But, yeah, the NFL International Series is a very weird situation because the better team usually will win those games, but the team that doesn't do well sometimes will sneak out a win with these games in general. And on that level, on that reasoning alone, I'm really going to hate myself for doing this, but I'm going to take the Jets to win this one. I think it could be a very ugly game overall where, you know, the Jets have been terrible. There's no question the Jets have been terrible this year. But then they'll find that one game where they all of a sudden just find that magic again, and all of a sudden it's just like they found a winning weapon here, and they'll use that to somehow get a win here. This game will probably end with a game-winning field goal, or Justin Fields doing some magic with a touchdown in the final seconds of the game. Like I really just feel like the potential is there for that game. The Broncos could easily win this game, no question about it. And my gut should tell me to go with the Broncos, but it's not telling me to do that for some reason. I know that this could probably backfire on me big time like they did last week against the Cowboys, but I'm giving the Jets one more chance to prove me wrong here. I'm actually going to go with the Jets to win on Sunday morning in London against the Denver Broncos. It's a tough task, but for some reason, I just got that gut feeling that I had. I had this last week when I picked the Broncos over the Eagles, or when I picked Tennessee over Arizona. I had that feeling that I have to go with this. I feel like I have to go with this because I just feel like that's what's going to happen here. So yeah, Broncos fans, you're going to hate me for this. Most people will probably hate me for saying this, but I think the Jets will upset the Denver Broncos this week in London. Give me the Jets to go to 1-5 and the Denver Broncos to drop to 3-3. Like, I feel like it's going to be that type of a game where it could be very ugly and the Jets could find a win either on a field goal or a last-second touchdown and just completely shock the Denver Broncos just like they did the week before to the Philadelphia Eagles. That's just how I feel about this whole situation. And then next up, we get to the 1 o'clock games. And we started off with the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Indianapolis Colts. I talked about the Colts already in my power rankings. I basically said that I'm still not fully convinced that this team is Super Bowl worthy like everybody else is saying. I mean, they've had a pretty soft schedule to start the season off. And, they've been getting wins off of these really bad football teams. But when they play a really good football team, however, it's like that magic completely disappears. But here's the good news for them. They get to take on an Arizona Cardinals team that is in nearing desperate disaster mode, especially after what happened this week with the Tennessee Titans. Arizona. Oh my God. I mean, I told people that there was a possibility Tennessee was going to win this one. This could be a trap game for the Arizona Cardinals, but I did not expect it to go down like that. I mean, good Lord. We're going to get to the Tennessee Titans side of this whole thing, but Arizona, oh my God. Like, everything that could go wrong with this team has gone wrong. They're down several key players. And then in a game like this where they've dominated 21-6, the moment Emery DeMarco fumbles that football in the back of the end zone and, pulls an Adonai Mitchell, I mean, that's when the game really just fell apart. And I got to say something about that whole thing because, look, if you want to get mad at DeMarco for fumbling the football out of the back of the end zone, yeah, that's fine. That's something that every football player should know not to do. But I'm sorry, Jonathan Gannon, you don't get an excuse for what you did to that guy. I mean, if you saw the video that I'm talking about, there's the players for the Cardinals comforting DeMarco, saying that, hey, it's no big deal, we'll get back at it, don't worry about it. And then Jonathan Gannon comes in, screams at him, and hits him, like punches him, and it's just kind of like, how does this guy still have a job? Like, at this point, the reason why the Cardinals have been so terrible as of late, it's not really the players, it's the coaching. Jonathan Gannon's not a good coach, and to have that happen, that's just another black mark. I'm actually shocked that he still has a job. Like, they gave him the penalty today. It's a $100,000 fine. So, in other words, it's a slap on the wrist. Like, they basically gave him a slap on the wrist because, he apologized, which, if you watch First Take early today, I think Chris Conte made a good point about this. And that's how I feel about this whole thing when they were talking about this. It's just like, did he make that apology because he feels sorry, or did he make that apology because he got caught? And for me, I think he got caught, but I think he's doing it because he got caught. Like, if the cameras weren't on him, then there would have been nothing said about that. Everyone would have, if somebody had said it on the team, everyone just said that, it's just speculation, don't worry about it. It's just like, they have cameras right there showing him doing this. And I'm sorry, like, Jonathan Gannon should have been fired after that game, especially considering that this team looks absolutely terrible. Every time they try to come back, something bad happens to them where they either lose by a field goal, or just the football gods giving you the biggest middle fingers possible. Because, that game in particular was a big middle finger. This past game in particular, like, if you're losing to the winless Tennessee Titans, all the negativity from the Tennessee Titans all of a sudden shifted over to the Arizona Cardinals. That's how big of a shift that was for this particular game. And it just and you look at it, it's really felt like wow, this Cardinals team is just cursed, man. Like, I mean, the Cardinals are in deep trouble, and sadly, I don't think it's going to get any better when they go to Indianapolis. Like I said, man, Indianapolis, I think, will splurge on these teams that are clearly terrible and come out of there with an easy win here. Like, I have the Colts getting this win here, getting to 5-1. Colts dropping to 2-4. I don't think it really says much about the Colts if they beat the Cardinals, but it really won't say much if the Cardinals beat the Colts either, because let's be honest, both of these teams really are not that good, but the Cardinals are definitely showing it more than the Colts are right now. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game we have here. And speaking of teams that are in disaster mode right now, the Miami Dolphins will be hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Two teams that started off the year with high hopes. One team was 3-0. The other one started 0-3 and looked absolutely terrible for the last couple of weeks. And then the Miami Dolphins found a win on Monday night against the Jets, and then they looked like they had a win against Carolina. But then Bryce Young came all the way back, and I gotta say, man, the guy who's calling that game for the Miami Dolphins and Cardinals and Panthers on Fox, what was his name? I think it was it Eric Williams? Eric Williams, I think it was? Eric Collins. Eric Collins was the guy's name. I just want to say, man, Eric Collins, bravo, sir. You made a game that could have been absolutely a bore to watch and made it one of the most exciting games we have ever seen, because that guy deserves to be on more NFL games. You know, Fox, here's the thing with Fox Sports. They have Gus Johnson. They have one of the greatest play callers of all time. And they're forcing him to do these really terrible, lopsided college football games on Big Noon Saturday, which, if you're going to you got him as the focal point of your leading call team on Big Noon, on the college football games. Get him some more exciting games. Stop giving him these blowout games. Like, or at the very least, put him back in the NFL. Put him back on NFL games, because that guy's voice is still just as good as it ever is. But Eric Collins, I mean, they have found their answer to Gus Johnson. If they can never get him back he's on the NFL sideline, put more of Eric Collins on there, because that guy, that voice of his is so damn good, and that voice of his is just so much powerful. I mean, he took a game that could have been one of the worst games of the week, the Chargers and the Dolphins and the Panthers, and made it into a spectacle just to hear his excitement in that game. I don't care what anybody says. They thought like, oh, he's too excited about this game. Even Mark Schlereth, the guy who's his play-by-play analyst, his color commentator, was just like, shut up. Like, online, he was just like, yeah, shut up, guys. Like, he's cool. It's just like, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Mark Schlereth. I mean, I'm serious. Get Eric Collins some more games out there, Fox. I mean, be smart about this. Like, the Dolphins need to be smart about where their team is going here, and it sounds like Mike McDaniel is on a very short leash right now. I mean, a couple more bad losses, and yeah, Mike McDaniel could be out of the job sooner rather than later. But they're going to be taking on a Los Angeles Chargers team that started off strong in the early part of the year, 3-0, and then they've lost their last two games. They've lost critical pieces of their team. You know, Najee Harris suffered that season-ending ACL injury. They lost Joe Alt in the game against the Giants. Omarion Hampton's now on injured reserve. So they are missing a lot of key pieces on that team. And last week against the Washington Commanders, they did not look that great. And you're definitely starting to see the fatigue in this team is after that 3-0 start in general. That cushy lead that they had in the AFC West, that's gone away, man, because now the Denver Broncos have the top of it, and Kansas City's not too far behind, and then the Raiders are just the Raiders, so take that for what you will. But, yeah, right now, the Chargers are in desperation mode, and right now, of the two teams playing in that game, the Chargers are the team that I think are definitely more primed to get a win out of this game, because the Dolphins really don't have much there, except for Darren Waller, except for Jalen Waddle. And that's about it. I mean, their running game isn't getting going anytime soon. The defense has not been strong, but I think the Chargers go into this game and get an easy win out of this one. I think they get back on track here. They get back up to 4-2. Dolphins, I think, drop to 1-5, and I think Mike McDaniel probably loses his job after this game. I mean, it really does feel like he has nothing left in the tank at this point. And I mean, one more bad loss like the last couple of games, and yeah, I feel like his time will be up soon in Miami, sooner rather than later. Next up, Well, it was nice to have some stress-free football from my team for at least 1 week, because the Steelers were on their bye week last week, but they get to return home to Acrisure Stadium to take on the Cleveland Browns, two teams that recently were overseas in their last games. They come back to America. They come back to the Northeast. The Cleveland Browns, they finally got rid of Joe Flacco. They benched him last week, and not only that, they just traded him today to the Cincinnati Bengals, which I think is pretty hilarious. I mean, of all the quarterbacks that the Bengals could have gone out for, I mean, the Giants had two former starting quarterbacks on their roster in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, primed for the taking, because they have Jackson Dart as their starter now, and they decide not to do it. They decide to go to their little brother and say, "Hey, can I take your Joe Flacco?" Sure. Are you going to give it back to me? Sure. I'll give it back to you later. And just runs away. But yeah, we'll talk more about the Bengals in a second, because they've got a game coming up as well. But they put Dillon Gabriel in against the Minnesota Vikings last week, and truth be told, he didn't do a bad job last week. I think the Cleveland Browns offense is getting a lot better. You know, Quinshon Judkins has become a nice running back overall. I think he could be a really solid running back in this league. And Dillon Gabriel had a couple of good touchdown throws last week against the Minnesota Vikings. Even though they lost that game, the defense is still very strong for them. That's what has me worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers, whose last team they faced was also the Minnesota Vikings 2 weeks ago, putting up a very solid win against them, at least until the fourth quarter, when they decided to let them back in the game. Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf finally got going. The defense got a couple of big takeaways. The defense has been getting a whole lot better the last couple of weeks. It really started with that Patriots game in Week 3, and then came over to the Minnesota Vikings game. And if they could continue to keep that pace up here, the Steelers should win this game. In fact, most people are predicting the Steelers to win this game. But here's the thing. I know the AFC North right now is not very good. I mean, the Ravens, the team that everyone thought was going to be in the Super Bowl, they're 1-4 right now, potentially going to 1-5 this week. And the Bengals don't have a quarterback because Joe Burrow's going to be out for the rest of the season. At least Lamar Jackson will come back in this season. And the Browns are the Browns. But that being said, when it comes to the Steelers, for the Browns, beating the Steelers is like their Super Bowl. No matter where it is, mostly in Cleveland. Like, if they beat the Steelers, that's their Super Bowl. They're more than happy to not have a terrible season as long as they can beat up on Big Brother. But the Steelers have also had the benefit of beating the Cleveland Browns in Pittsburgh. They've had a 22-year record that has been standing in terms of the regular season for the Cleveland Browns. The Browns haven't won in the regular season in Pittsburgh since 2003. Yes, I know they won in 2020, but that was the playoffs, and I would like to forget that game because, yeah, bad memories of that one. But that's what has me worried about this game. You've got a Cleveland Browns team that is on the potential rise with Dillon Gabriel behind center. And, of course, that defense for the Cleveland Browns is still very strong. And the Steelers, I still can't decide whether or not I really believe in this team or not. I've been so burned by this team the last couple of years that I'm not ready to buy this team as the de facto AFC North champion, especially with the way the season goes. And we know how the Ravens like to sit and wait until November or December, because they will usually take what the Steelers had in the first 2 months of the season and use it to their own advantage, while the Steelers just fade out in December and then lose a wild card game in January. That's probably going to happen again. I mean, again, until they prove me wrong, that's what I will think about this. But this is a tough game to pick here. And so with that said, I'm going to actually go with the Cleveland Browns. I think that 22-year record is something that they're going to try so hard to break and finally just knock down the Steelers and put them in a situation where they're going to knock them back down to reality here, and everyone back down to reality. Like, I just don't feel confident the Steelers can get a win in this one here. I mean, I know it's hard. I know it's really tough to go on against your home team, but I'm sorry. Like I said, I've been burnt by this team the last couple of years that I'm not ready to believe anything until they are literally at the Super Bowl in February playing against an NFC team. I mean, that's just how I feel about this team. It's just not happened. It hasn't happened in the last 15 years, and I don't think it's going to happen as long as Mike Tomlin's still the head coach. No matter how hard Aaron Rodgers says he's going to do his best, your best isn't going to be good enough, dude. So yeah, I'm going to actually go with the Cleveland Browns to pull out a surprise win in this one, to go to 2-4 and drop the Steelers to 3-3. They'll get their first regular season win against the Steelers in Pittsburgh since 2003, in this person's humble opinion. I know some people may not like that, but that's just how I see it here. Following that, you've got the Dallas Cowboys against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina pulling off that upset win over the Miami Dolphins last week, and a real upset win. That was Bryce Young's best game as a starter so far. I mean, that was a performance for the ages for him, and it gives you hope that maybe, just maybe, this team is going to find that magic finally against this in this really terrible division. Bryce Young is not a bad quarterback. It's just this team in general is just so badly run, and it's basically the complete. I don't even want to say it's the complete opposite of the Cowboys, because they're badly run too, but we'll talk about them in just a second here. But the Panthers, it's a team that you really can't get a good grasp on here. You can't really tell, are they really ready to turn the table, or is this just a mild fluke overall? I mean, how does a team that beats their division rivals in the Falcons 30-0 get swamped by the New England Patriots the following week and don't do anything? And then somehow win a game against the Dolphins? Like, how does that work? How does that even happen here? But they are going to be taking on the Dallas Cowboys, who, of course, everybody's overhyping now because, oh my God, Dak Prescott put up an MVP caliber performance. He threw 4 touchdowns in that game on Sunday against the New York Jets. You are getting this overhype because the Cowboys beat the worst team in football. Jerry Jones literally flipped off the New York Jets crowd because his team beat them. Doing that is like the equivalent of sticking a middle finger to a kid with cancer who's literally about to die. Like, the plug is about to be pulled on him because he's losing life support. That's how pathetic that move was by Jerry Jones. You beat the Jets. You didn't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You didn't beat the Philadelphia Eagles. You didn't beat the best teams in football. You beat the worst possible team in football. Yeah, your offense is getting better. Your defense is still garbage. I mean, I'm sorry. You're not going to convince me the Dallas Cowboys are Super Bowl contenders, no matter how hard you try. Like, I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. I'll say that you'll win a couple of games, no question, like you'll probably do this week because, again, with the Panthers, I really don't know how good they really are. Is this just a fluke, or are they actually really is on the rise here? But until that happens here, I'm going to give the Cowboys the win in this one here. I think the offensive performance by Dak Prescott, and especially George Pickens, is really going to help this team out in the long run here. And unless Carolina can pull out a miracle like they did last week, I'm sticking with the Cowboys for this one here. I'm going to go with Dallas to go to 3-2-1, and the Panthers to drop to 2-4. So with that said, we go ahead on to the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off of that big win against Kansas City. So they'll take on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks, we kind of touched on them early in the power rankings. Had a close one against Tampa Bay, could have won it, but then that pick at the end of the game sealed the deal pretty much. And as Bucs kicked the game-winning field goal, and of course, the less I have to say about the Jacksonville Jaguars, the better. Excuse me. They beat Kansas City, the defending AFC champions, and did it in a close race to the very end. I mean, this Jaguars team. This is the best-looking Jaguars team I've seen in a long, long time, and I think they're going to continue to build that up from what they did against Kansas City, and they're going to do it against the Seattle Seahawks in this game. I mean, Seattle's been good at some points in the season, but then they lose games like the one against San Francisco and against Tampa Bay. And the question is, are they really that good, or is this just a fluky performance from these two? And I think right now in this matchup here, the Jaguars have the upper hand in this one here. Yeah, they're going to be without their tight end, Brenton Strange, but if the Jaguars can somehow get better after that performance and find Brian Thomas Jr. more, and maybe Travis Hunter, and get that running game going, I think they can easily beat the Seattle Seahawks in this one, no question about it. So I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one, go to 5-1, and the Seahawks to drop to 500 at 3-3. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game we have here, and that is the Los Angeles Rams coming off of their Thursday night shocker of a loss to the 49ers as they take on the depleted Baltimore Ravens. And I get the feeling that the Rams are looking at this Ravens game the same way they looked at the 49ers game and getting those Vietnam flashbacks. Because, yeah, there's no excuse for how bad that team was against the 49ers. There was no reason for you to lose that game, and yet you somehow let Mac Jones and the 49ers backups, the JV team, if you will, come into your house and completely just destroy you. And I mean, I was mad when that game happened on Thursday night. I mean, I was like the joke. I was like the Riddler at the end of Batman the Animated Series. I was just looking at the sky and going like, how did they do it? Somebody please tell me how they did it. I have to know. I have to know. Like I was really losing it because it's just like, this happens every single time with the 49ers. They get these wins when they have not really shown that they are that Super Bowl contending team that they were a couple years ago. They just aren't. And yet they're still 4-1 at this point. And I'm talking more about the 49ers right now. I should be saving that for when they play the Bucks later on in the afternoon. But the Rams, bottom line, you should have played better than that. And I'm sorry. I know people aren't going to like it when I say this, but you should have gone for the tie. Kick the field goal. Like, the 49ers were probably going to score after that, but I'm sorry. That fourth down play in overtime was a killer. Like, that was a little killer, and that was a stupid decision on my beliefs. But that's my beliefs. What do I know? They're going to be taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who... Oh, this is fucking hilarious. I feel like Jerry Seinfeld on Seinfeld when, I guess he settled a bet with Elaine, and he's like, Elaine's like counting the money out that she's giving her. Jerry's got the cigar in his mouth. He's just doing the evil laugh, like, because I'm sorry, man. I'm loving this right now. The Ravens are in complete disarray right now. Cooper Rush was fucking terrible against the Los Angeles Rams against the Texans last week. Texans mopped the floor with this team. I mean, this team is a disaster right now, and I get it. They've lost so many people to injury, but most of them will come back, and then they're going to probably be as good. They're going to probably win the division again because that's what the Ravens do. But for right now, I'm just going to sit back and let the torture happen to this team and have my cigar in the air going like, because they definitely deserve it. So the Rams, I would say, should come into this game and mop the floor with them. But then again, we saw what happened Thursday night against the 49ers backups, and I'm pretty sure the Ravens backups are going to do everything they can to prevent another disaster like what happened with the Texans. But with that said, I'm going to give the Rams one more shot at it. I'm going to give the Rams the opportunity to prove that last week was a fluke and you are actually a good team. I'm giving you the win in this one. I'm going to have you go to 4-2. Ravens drop to 1-5. Then they go to the bye week, and then they think about whether Lamar Jackson will be back that week after that, which he should be. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Rams and the Ravens. Next up, we've got the New England Patriots taking on the New Orleans Saints. Both teams with big wins last week. The Saints getting the big win over the New York Giants. Saints look the best they've looked all season long. I mean, they really are not a great football team, but they're a team that's at least trying to play these games and continue and stay competitive. So you got to give them that. And last week they got a big win against the New York Giants. How about the Patriots, man, going into Buffalo and knocking down Buffalo the way they did? I mean, some could say it's mostly because of Stephon Diggs and the revenge game factor here, but let me just say that when that game ended, my first thought was, oh, great, New England's back, as I'm internally screaming in the background going like I don't want the Patriots to be that great team they were again, but it's good to see that they're at least a team that's actually competitive again, like they were when Mac Jones started off his career in New England. I mean, Drake May has looked pretty good for this team so far this year. Patriots do look a lot better. Mike Vrabel coming in there has been a big factor for them, and they're going to be taking on a New Orleans Saints team that is coming off their first win overall. I still don't think they're a great team overall, and I think that's going to be enough for the New England Patriots to go in there and win this game pretty convincingly, unless the Saints pull off this miracle that they did against the Giants. I mean, this is a tough game for them in general. I still don't think the Saints are that great of a football team. I think New England will easily win this one, go to 4-2, and the Saints will drop to 1-5. And then we have another Tank Bowl, ladies and gentlemen, the second if you've been following Urinated Trees this week in sports ball. We've got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, which technically, I mean, the Dolphins and Panthers game last week could have also been a Tank Bowl. This past week could have been a Tank Bowl as well, so this could be Tank Bowl 3 when you really think about it. But Tennessee and the Raiders. Yeah, they're garbage. I mean, common sense would probably tell Pete Carroll at this point, Geno Smith is not your guy. You have Kenny Pickett right there. You're 1-4. You're not going to win this division. You haven't looked at good all season long with Geno Smith under center. Put Kenny Pickett in. Put him in there. See what he can do. Even if he's terrible, at least show that you're trying to salvage the season here. Because right now, the fact that they're still keeping Geno Smith involved in this game with as many interceptions that he's thrown this year. I mean, the Raiders are hot garbage right now. I mean, they are right up there with the New York Jets and even the Tennessee Titans, which, yeah, that Tennessee Titans. Congratulations, you got your first win, but you got it in the biggest, what the hell was that type of game ever? I mean, most of it came in the fourth quarter overall, but, I mean, hey, good for Cam Ward to get his first win, but what a way to get your first win. And really, it wasn't really because of him. Like, the play I think everyone will be talking about for years to come is that Cam Ward interception that gets fumbled by the interceptor, flies into the end zone, and Tyler Lockett is right there landing on it, and that's considered a touchdown. Like, when I saw that for the first time, I laughed my ass off. I could not believe that just happened. Like, most people couldn't believe that just happened. Just like, are you serious? That's really what's going to happen here? Like, what the fuck was that? Like, that's a play that's going to be remembered for years to come. I mean, look, the Titans are not a very good football team. Brian Callahan's not a good coach, but that win at least keeps his job there for the next couple of weeks, because he should win this game, no question about it, against the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they're against the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the Las Vegas Raiders are fucking terrible. Like, they're an even worse team than the Tennessee Titans was. Tennessee Titans is at least a young team, and yeah, I think they have a good chance to getting a win in this game here. But like I said, it's going to be a tough road ahead for them. I don't think they're going to be any team that's going to be in playoff contention overall, but I mean, if that win gives them the boost they need to get on the right track, so be it. I think they will go into Las Vegas. They'll beat the Raiders pretty convincingly, and I think they'll get to 2-4. Give me the Titans to go to 2-4 and the Raiders to drop to 1-5. I just feel like that's going to be what's going to happen in this game. Following that, we've got probably the most interesting game of the second half of the day on Sunday. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the San Francisco 49ers. The Buccaneers coming off of that massive win against the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers coming off of that big win Thursday night against the Rams. 49ers are still very injury prone, and you know, at this point, all things are out the door right now because of what happened last week in the Thursday night game in general. But they're going to go up against a good Tampa Bay Buccaneer team that coming off that big win against Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, it should be a really good game overall. But I think the Buccaneers should be the team that should win this game overall. But again, kind of like what I said before, with the 49ers, what they did with the Rams, you can always expect the unexpected with this. But I don't think the Buccaneers will crater down as much as the Rams did in this case. I think they will get the win here. I think the Buccaneers will go to 5-1. The 49ers will drop to 4-2 in this game. That's just my personal opinion on that front. And then in the final game of the late afternoon window, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals is playing in Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers. Last time we saw the Green Bay Packers, they were at the Micah Parsons Bowl in Dallas, which ended in a tie, which basically really left both teams figuring, what the hell just happened? Who won this Micah Parsons trade? And right now, there really is no winner in this trade so far. But the Packers have had some time to think about it, and now they get ready to face the Cincinnati Bengals, who will be starting a new quarterback this week with Jake Browning being absolutely terrible, not getting the ball to the key players on the Bengals team when it matters the most. Yeah, Ja'Marr Chase got 3 touchdowns in the second half of that game, but that game against the Lions was already decided on that front. So yeah, that should not be considered a good thing for the Cincinnati Bengals and Jake Browning. I think Joe Flacco will give him a little bit more hope for this matchup here, but I don't think it's going to be enough to face it to knock down the Green Bay Packers again. Yeah, I know Joe Flacco beat the Packers already when he was with the Browns, but I think the Packers should be ready for them this time around. I think there is more of a good chance that this team will be ready to play this time around, and they have to get that ugly tie out of their straits overall, and get back to being that team that they were the first 2 weeks of the season. Because yeah, they haven't won a game since the last time Joe Flacco played them against the Cleveland Browns and mopped the floor with them in the fourth quarter. So they got to get that ugly memory out of their hands here. And I think they'll do that this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Packers will go to 3-1-1. Bengals drop to 2-4. And then Oh boy, did this Sunday night NFL rewatch matchup get all the more interesting this week. We've got the Detroit Lions going to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night, they had a chance to go in there, get back above 500 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They just couldn't get the job done. I mean, they played a good game overall against Jacksonville, but Trevor Lawrence in the end and the Jaguars really came out on top in that one, and knocked the Chiefs back down to a place they haven't been in a long, long time. Now, does that mean the Chiefs are officially over and done with yet? Not by any stretch of the imagination. There are key players missing. They don't have Rashid Rice. Xavier Worthy keeps getting injured, and they don't have a running game like they've had the last couple of years. They don't have that guy like Tyreek Hill. They've had guys who have tried to be like Tyreek Hill, like to be the main weapon for Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce isn't getting the ball all that much, and most of the running plays have been done by Mahomes. I mean, he's not the same spry guy that he was back in 2018. I mean, he's 7 years into his starting career overall, and I mean, yeah, the Chiefs are still a force to be reckoned with here, and until the day comes when the Chiefs are no longer in contention for the Super Bowl, you cannot convince me that the Chiefs will not still be there playing for a Super Bowl come this January. I just feel like that's going to be something that is not going to happen until we actually see it in front of our own eyes. But they've got a tough task ahead of them, facing off a red-hot Detroit Lions team who started the season off with that bad loss against Green Bay, but have looked back ever since. They have been as strong as they've been they were the last couple of seasons. And keep in mind, the Detroit Lions revolution began mostly because of that 2023 season opener when they went to Arrowhead and knocked down the Kansas City Chiefs just after they won the Super Bowl. I mean, that's when that whole thing got started. I mean, that's when, the last 2 seasons, they've won more games than they've had in a long, long time. Dan Campbell's proven to be a great head coach. This should be a really enticing matchup overall that really could come down to one of these two teams winning this game. I mean, I could see a scenario where the Detroit Lions can go into this game and win this matchup. However, because the Kansas City Chiefs are in desperation mode right now, that's who I think is going to win this matchup here. I don't think it's going to be a great game for the Chiefs overall. I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think it will be a game where they're going to have to do everything they can to match up with the Lions. The Lions can get you on so many levels here. But I think somehow, some way, the Chiefs will come out of this with a win here. I think they've got the home field advantage working towards them. And because of that, I think they will go into this game and find a way to win this one easily. Not easily, but I think it should be a great matchup overall. And one of the reasons why I picked that game when the schedule came out to do a Sunday Night NFL rewatch on. I mean, that should be a great game to do anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and give the home team in this the advantage. I'm going with the Chiefs to get back to 500 at 3-3, and the Lions to drop to 4-2. It'll be a close matchup, but it should be a great matchup. By the way, Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch does that game, the Lions and the Chiefs, this Sunday. You'll see that footage right after the game. And then on Monday night, we actually have probably one of the best Monday Night Football doubleheaders of the season, if not the best. But we've got the Buffalo Bills going out to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons, of course, were on their bye week last week, but the week before that, last time we saw them, they beat Jaden Daniels missing Washington Commanders team with Marcus Mariota as the quarterback, and they were able to put a good win in that one. Michael Penix Jr. had a great game overall. Falcons look like a really good football team in that matchup. They're going to be taking on the Buffalo Bills, who had their first loss of the season last Sunday night against the New England Patriots. So the best team in football went down, and it basically means that everything at this point, all bets are off right now for the Buffalo Bills. I still think they're the best team in the NFL, but not this week, especially after what happened. Drake May and the Patriots got the best of them in that matchup. Josh Allen, I feel like could have won that game easily, but the Bills defense was missing some key elements. Matt Milano wasn't there, and Oliver wasn't on the field for that game, and you see why those two pieces are so important to this team in general. And so, yeah, it was a tough loss for them to handle, but they're going into a tough environment in Atlanta, especially with Michael Penix Jr. coming off of that big win he had a couple weeks ago. I think the Falcons will be rusty in this one here, and I think the Buffalo Bills will use that to their advantage. I think they get back on track in this one, and I think they should win this game. This should be a very tough game overall. I think the Buffalo Bills will come out and win this game. I think they go to 5-1. The Falcons will drop to 2-3. And then the second Monday Night Football game, and boy, this will be a really, really fun one here, because you've got The Washington Commanders hosting... Are they hosting the Chicago Bears or... Yeah, they're hosting the Chicago Bears in a rematch of the Hail Mary game from last week. Is from last year. It was called the Hail Mary game, right? Right? I know I should have done this research beforehand. I know that, but Hail Maryland, that's what they call it. Of course, you know which game I'm talking about. You know, the Bears look like they had the win, and then Jayden Daniels somehow, someway finds Noah Brown down the field. You know, Tyreek Stevenson tips the ball to Noah Brown. Bears lose it to the Commanders, 18-15. Classic game. Is a classic game overall. The game that essentially sealed the deal for Jayden Daniels to become the Offensive Rookie of the Year. No question about it. So yeah, this game is going to be one that the Bears have had on their calendar for a couple of months now, and they're going to be going in there coming off of that big upset win they had the week before against the Las Vegas Raiders when they blocked a game-winning field goal attempt by Daniel Carlson, and essentially got them to 2-2. And the Bears have definitely gotten better in the last 2 weeks of the season compared to where they were in the first 2 weeks. So this one should be a very competitive matchup here. You got Jayden Daniels coming back after the success he had against the Los Angeles Chargers last week, and now he's going back into the place that he remembers from the year before. He's got a better coach this time around, and the big question is, can the Chicago Bears return the favor and get an upset win there? It's going to be very tough to do here, and I think this will be a very close matchup overall. Should be a very good matchup overall. I am going to give the home team the advantage again in this one here. I just think Jayden Daniels, without Jayden Daniels on this team right now, I don't think the Commanders would have a chance against the Bears. But now that he's back, now it looks like that he's back in full form again. This should be a game where he should be able to get the Bears the win in this, the Commanders in this one, the win in this one. It's going to be a very tough one here, but I am going to go with the Washington Commanders to go to 4-2 and the Bears to drop to 2-3. It's going to be a close one. Either team could win this one here, but I'm going with the home team. I'm going with the Commanders to win this one. So there you go. Those are the predictions for Week 6. And just to recap them, I've got the Eagles over the Giants on Thursday night. I've got the Jets over the Broncos, the Colts over the Cardinals, the Chargers over the Dolphins, the Browns over the Steelers, the Cowboys over the Panthers, Jaguars over the Seahawks, Rams over the Ravens, Patriots over the Saints, Titans over the Raiders, Buccaneers over the 49ers, Packers over the Bengals, Chiefs over the Lions, Bills over the Falcons, and the Commanders over the Bears. Now let's watch and see how many of these I get completely wrong, because I'm just going to say right now, of the teams that I've selected here, the most likely ones I will get wrong are the Jets beating the Broncos, but stranger things have happened, and the Browns over the Steelers, because every time I pick the Steelers to lose, in terms of the Browns, is in Pittsburgh, they somehow get the win. So maybe I'll be wrong on those ones there. Maybe those will be the ones I'll get wrong, and then everything else I'll get right. Or maybe I'll just be wrong altogether. I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, this has been a crazy start to the season. It's only going to get crazier from there. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll check back here next week and see how wrong I was or how right I was, and see what changes in the power rankings come again. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see some of the other videos I've done, check out my last episode I did of the NFL Network, and check out the playlist below. And also a reminder, once again, Sunday night after the Sunday night football game between the Chiefs and the Lions, stay tuned for the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch. Well, I'll have a play-by-play coverage of that game on this channel here, so stay tuned for that. Like I said, it'll be after that game on Sunday night. Hope to see you there, and I hope to see you guys next week here. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and I'll see you next week. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Take care.
The following has been a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.